I was 17, technically still a minor, but smart enough to know when I was being treated like the family pet. You know, feed it, tolerate it, forget it exists. That was me and our family vacation plans. It was supposed to be our big summer trip to Italy. My parents, my golden child brother Josh, and me. The overlooked background character in their perfect postcard photo. My mom booked everything without asking for my input, like always. She even announced at dinner, without blinking, that I'd be sitting with the luggage crew in economy while the rest of them were in business class. Not even a window seat. "But you're smaller," she said. And we needed the extra legroom, right? Because Josh's 6-foot ego needed space to stretch. I didn't say a word. I just smiled and nodded. That's what I was trained to do. I let them think they were getting away with it. Again. But what they didn't know was that 6 months ago, I found out my grandmother left me a trust fund, a hefty one, the kind that could buy a car, or a few first-class tickets. She left it directly to me. Not to my parents, not to the family, just me. Grandma always said I was the only one who listened to her stories. I guess listening paid off. So I started planning. I waited, I watched, and when the day of the flight came, I executed. We arrived at the airport like a herd of entitled buffalo. My dad barking orders, my mom swiping her credit card like it was a magic wand, and Josh too busy taking gym selfies to notice I wasn't with them. At the check-in counter, my mother handed me a boarding pass without making eye contact. "Here, don't lose it, gate 32, way down by the food court." I took it, smiled, and walked away. But not toward gate 32. Instead, I turned left, toward the first-class lounge. Why? Because a week earlier, I had quietly canceled the economy seat under my name. Then I rebooked it in first class, paid in full. Under the same flight, different seat, different experience. They never noticed the change. First class greeted me like royalty, warm towels, champagne I didn't drink, and more legroom than Josh could dream of. The stewardess called me Miss Carter and asked if I wanted a blanket or a silk pillow. I wanted both. I sat by the window, pulled out my book, and waited for the chaos. Boarding started. I imagined my family standing in line at the gate, looking around, confused. "Where's she?" my mom would ask. "She was just here." They'd check the restrooms, the stores, maybe even call my name on the intercom like I was a lost toddler. But I wasn't lost. I was found, in seat 1A, sipping sparkling water and watching their world unravel. I turned off my phone before the flood of calls could come in. I didn't need noise. I wanted silence. And revenge. As the plane lifted off the runway, I smiled. They thought I'd been left behind. They thought I'd be sobbing in some airport corner, begging for a ticket on the next flight out. But I was already 30,000 feet above them. Alone, first class, and finally in control. What they did to me was a lesson. What I was about to do next. That was the beginning of a masterpiece. Let's rewind. While I was stretched out in my seat, wrapped in a cashmere blanket with a 5-star dinner menu in my hand, my dear family was losing their collective minds back at gate 32. According to airport records, which I got later, long story, my mother reported me as missing 20 minutes before departure. Apparently, she screamed at 2 airline employees, knocked over a tray of complimentary pretzels, and accused the gate agent of kidnapping her daughter. Yes, kidnapping. Josh was too busy refreshing his Instagram to help. He posted a story with the caption, "Airport chaos. Missing sister. LOL." Father of the Year just stood there sighing, probably more concerned about missing his pre-flight gin and tonic than the fact that his daughter had mysteriously vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, I was choosing between salmon or filet mignon. I picked both. Now I know what you're thinking. Cruel? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. After we were in the air, the flight attendant passed by again and said, "Your family's not flying with us today?" I smiled sweetly and said, "Nope, they're in another cabin." She nodded. "Lucky you. Lucky me indeed. For the next 10 hours I lived the life of someone who mattered. Someone who was seen. I watched movies without someone breathing over my shoulder. I went to sleep without hearing Josh snore like a chainsaw. I didn't get elbowed by my mother as she rifled through her designer tote bag like it was the bottomless pit of her personality. Bliss. When we landed in Rome, the real fun began. My phone exploded with messages, missed calls, voicemails, all from them. Mom. Where are you? We had to board without you. We're calling security. Dad. Call us immediately. This isn't funny. Josh. Did you get kidnapped, LOL? I didn't respond. Not immediately. Instead, I walked through customs, waved at the driver holding a sign with my name on it. Yes, I hired a private car, and headed straight to the boutique hotel I booked for myself. My family had chosen one of those all-inclusive resorts with screaming, children and neon wristbands. I, on the other hand, chose elegance, quiet, peace. Oh, and a balcony with a view of the Colosseum. I took a long bath, ordered room service, and opened their texts again. They still had no idea I was even in the same country. So I sent one message. One perfect, delicious message. Me. Hope your flight wasn't too cramped. Mine was lovely. I attached a selfie. Me in first class. Silk pillow, gourmet dessert, and a glass of something expensive in hand. Then I turned off my phone again. Petty? Sure, but it wasn't over. See, I knew how this trip would go. My parents had everything scheduled down to the minute. Group tours, cheesy tourist traps, strict wake-up calls. They loved control. They fed on it. So I decided to ruin every plan they made. One by one. From a distance. I called the tour company pretending to be my mother and canceled their early morning Vatican tour. I emailed the hotel concierge to upgrade their room to one next to the elevator, with twin beds. And when I found out which restaurant they had dinner reservations at on the third night, I beat them there and paid the maitre d' to give their table away. Twice. I watched from a nearby cafe as they argued with the host, red in the face, confused and exhausted. They didn't know I was watching. But I was. And I was just getting started. By day 4 in Rome, my family looked like a broken travel brochure. Sunburnt, sleep-deprived, and snapping at each other in public. Their precious itinerary was in ruins. Nothing was going right. And still, they had no idea who was behind it. I, of course, was living my best life, shopping in quiet alley boutiques, drinking espresso in silence, taking selfies at landmarks they'd only see through fogged-up tour bus windows. And most importantly, plotting the final blow. You see, it wasn't enough to inconvenience them. I wanted to teach them something. Something they'd never forget. Revenge isn't just sweet. It's educational. So I did what any self-respecting daughter would do. I invited them to dinner. Not directly, of course. That would be far too obvious. I created a fake email address, francesca.touritaliaigmail.com, and sent them an invitation to a very exclusive complimentary family-style dinner for select guests. I made sure to emphasize the free part. My mother can smell a discount from 2 continents away. The location? A rooftop restaurant I had already reserved under my real name. With one condition. I had booked the entire place out, every single table. The maitre d' owed me a favor after I tipped him for accidentally dropping red wine on my parents the night before. Long story. So the trap was set. That night, I arrived first. Hair curled, dress pressed, confidence radiating like a Roman sunset. I took the best table, dead center, and waited. They arrived 10 minutes late as usual. My mother looked suspicious. My father looked lost. Josh was filming himself walking in. Of course, they walked up to the host, gave their name, and waited and waited. Then came the whispering, the confused looks, the head shaking. My mother's tone changed quickly from fake polite to that tight-jawed fury she saves for waiters and customer service reps. I waited until her voice cracked. Then I stood up. She turned, mid-rant, and saw me, saw the private tables. The champagne, the live violinist, and finally saw the truth. "You," she hissed, like I'd just risen from the dead. "Me," I said, sipping calmly. "You did all this?" My dad barked. I leaned forward, smiling. Oh, this? No, this was just the finale. They stood frozen. No table, no reservation, no clue. Why? My mom finally asked. I stood, picked up my bag, and stepped closer. Because you left me at the airport like I was nothing. You treated me like luggage, so I decided to travel like royalty. And the tours? Josh interrupted. Canceled. The hotel? Dad growled. Switched. The restaurant last night? Mom gasped. Me again. Josh stared. You're insane. No, I said, brushing past him. I'm just done being the extra. I walked out, leaving them standing there, surrounded by luxury they couldn't touch. But the story doesn't end there. When we got back home a week later, I sent in the paperwork to access the rest of my trust fund. My parents were shocked when I moved out a month later, into my own apartment, paid in full. No roommates, no noise, just peace. Now, every holiday season they try to act like we're so close again. I let them try. But I never forget Rome, and they never forget that week they were humiliated, abandoned, and powerless. Funny, isn't it? They thought leaving me behind would save them money and trouble. Instead, it cost them the only thing they ever really cared about. Control.